Welcome back, beautiful people. This is Forever Young. I'm Dr. John Layke.
And I'm Dr. Payman Danielpour.
And I want to thank all the viewers and listeners for sending all the feedback and questions. You know, we love the emails and going over these because ultimately this is how we come up with some of our topics. And today's guest is no different. There's obviously big buzz around health, wellness, longevity. That's a true understatement. But we often assume that someone who looks incredibly fit must also be incredibly healthy. But are those actually the same thing? Today's guest is Kelsey Heenan, and she's built a career out of fitness, strength, nutrition, and helping people transform their bodies. And recently we've had the opportunity of walking you through our longevity protocol and your experience. And we've looked beyond how she looks on the outside and started asking a very different question. What actually is happening on the inside? Kelsey, welcome to Forever Young.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
We are so excited to have you. We've become friends, and now it's so exciting to have somebody that is already at such a high level go through some of the longevity kind of protocols that we have put together. So we're so psyched to talk to you today.
Yeah, listen, before we get into longevity, I want people to know your story. How did this start? Have you always been this way? Was there an inflection point at which you said, oh man, you know what, this is for me?
As far as just being in health and wellness, well, I grew up as an athlete. I played basketball back in the day through college. And I think the thing that pushed me into health and fitness as a career was what I went through in college. So I developed an eating disorder. I became anorexic in college, and it got really scary. I had to quit playing and go into treatment. And that whole process made me really think deeper about what health really means, because it essentially started because I wanted to be better at my sport. I wanted to be healthier. And so I really tried to dial in my nutrition. I started working out more. Now,
and it's funny how some of those things are counterintuitive, right?
Yes.
I mean, what you're thinking is going to be healthier definitely is not.
Yeah, there comes this tipping point where sometimes there can be too much of a good thing. And so I experienced that. So after going through treatment and going through a lot of healing, lots of therapy, lots and lots of food, I realized there has to be ways that we can teach people that movement is important. Fueling your body well is really important. And also, there are a lot of other things that can help us feel great, be healthy, and live a really long time that don't have to be so intense. So that's the space that I live in. I help people improve their relationship with food and their bodies. I help them learn how to be strong and move well, and to just try to be empowering in every way.
Well, it's fun. It's funny that you said that because you made reference to the fact that there are so many other ways where it doesn't have to be so intense. We're so focused on biohacking, which is such a horrible word, but it's like you're trying to have the cheat code to becoming healthier, living longer, and what we're forgetting about. So, you either starve yourself to death, you cold plunge, or cook yourself in a sauna. And at the same time, you're forgetting about some of the basics. How, exercise, appropriate nutrition, winding down at night, meditation, whatever it may be, some of the basics that can get you through it before you start launching into all of these quote unquote biohacks.
Yeah. What do I do as far as, well, truly the basics. I am very much, I want to have habits that carry me through and also then be able to live my life. I never want to cut out food groups anymore. I want to be able to truly live. So in my day-to-day, I focus on mostly protein, lots of fiber and vegetables. I love carbohydrates now when I used to be scared of them. So I focus mostly on whole foods, but I have pizza every Friday night. My husband and I do pizza night Friday. I have a little something sweet every night, and just really try to create balance for me. I think everyone is slightly different, and that's something that's important too, is understanding just because this is what works for me in my body doesn't mean it's right for either of you. And that goes the same for exercise. I think everyone should have a base of strength and focus on strength training for their longevity, as far as building muscle and bone density and all of those things that are really important. But it doesn't mean that all of us have to train for a marathon. It doesn't mean that all of us need to be doing CrossFit or High Rocks where we're passing out on the floor every single day. If that's for you and that's the kind of thing that you love doing, then that's amazing. But I think understanding there's individuality and you can have preferences, but also focus on the basics, and that's what's going to carry you through.
How long have you been doing this? Like as a career? You know, it's interesting because, you were an athlete, then you had the problem that you had to kind of get away from the addiction or unfortunately, a eating disorder. But once you figured all that out and you said, okay, I have figured it out, I'm going to be a fitness and a kind of a life coach to make you healthier. How long have you been doing that for?
Since about 2014. So it's been a while. Mm-hmm.
And how did that all happen? Like it's fascinating to me because you've got a great following, and obviously the proof is in the pudding because someone looks at you and they see, hey, you practice what you preach, which is amazing. How do you get your word across, and how did you become so successful?
Well, my husband and I run a business together. So I am the front end where people see me a lot. I do the coaching and the social content and things like that. And he runs the back end of the business. So he started off as a trainer, but realized very quickly that he loves marketing and technology and just continually learning and building things. That's one of his biggest skill sets. So we started, Instagram existed, but people weren't using it for fitness and selling products. So we started with email marketing, and he did so much research into email marketing. And so we would send out PDFs and YouTube videos of our workouts before Instagram existed. So it was very old school. And then once Instagram started being more fitness focused, we started creating content, and that really helped grow our audience.
That's great.
In 2017, we came out with an app because people were asking for it. And so we've kind of just evolved over time. The internet space is so interesting because it changes so quickly.
Right.
So being adaptable and listening to what people want and need is really important. So we've just really tried to keep it evolving.
What's the app?
Well, so we have our main business is called HIIT Burn. So it's like high intensity interval training burn. But we had some, not issues, but our app is built in a way where we can't make certain changes. So Dennis was like, you know what? We're going to start a new app from scratch to kind of meet some of those gaps. We still have that app and people still love it and use it. Our new app is called Workout Buddies, and it just launched in January, and it has a lot of different types of workouts. It has a lot of free stuff too, because we want fitness to be for everybody. And so we want, of course, we need to make money at some point, but we also have a lot of free options for people so that anyone can download it from the App Store and start moving their bodies.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
How cool is that? Obviously, for those who are listening in, I mean, she's in the pinnacle of health, so you look fantastic.
Thank you.
And obviously, you're taking home some of the key points now where you're following the basics. But now let's go one step further, and we can kind of touch on, the longevity journey. I mean, we kind of, have brought you through a specific sort of procedure, and I thought I wanted to get your take on it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'd heard about this procedure a while ago before I even met y'all, and was researching it a little bit because I have psoriasis and I've had it for years and years and years, and tried absolutely everything. I mean, I tried all natural stuff at first, which I'm here for it. If I can find something natural, I will absolutely do it. Nothing was working for me. So I went into some different topical steroids, which worked, but if it got on my face, then I would have cystic acne. It was just a whole thing. Right. And then I started trying biologics. Mm-hmm. And so the biologics were the first thing that really cleared it up completely, and it was amazing. It was no longer an issue for me, which I was so grateful for. And at the same time, I realized it's kind of a gnarly medication in the sense that it's very systemic. And so let's say if I wanted to have a baby, I would need to be off of it for at least 6 months.
Right.
And to me, that felt a little scary, where I'm like, what does that mean? What could happen? Like, what is actually in my body? Again, it's helping the issue, but it still felt a little bit like, okay, is there something else that could really help? And that's when y'all started talking about TPE a little bit more. I'm like, I need to try this because I've heard it really helps with autoimmune disorders. And so that's why I wanted to give it a try.
That is fantastic. Okay.
Yeah, it's, we as part of our, we have a really productive longevity as a 3-step process, and we talk about therapeutic plasma exchange as just one of the arms of this. And you talked about biologics. That's another arm where we have stem cell and exosome treatments, things like that. And then the third was our immuno boosting, which is using your own natural killer cells. But when you talk about therapeutic plasma exchange, some people initially, it sounds very scary to them. We know the benefits. We know, what can be done. So obviously you're drastically reducing chronic inflammation. You remove all the heavy metals and the BPAs from microplastics and things like that. But when you sat there, so maybe you can kind of go through your experience from when you arrived, going through it, how you felt afterwards.
Okay. So I walked through the door. No,
Well greeted by smiling faces.
no, honestly though, everyone at Proactive Longevity has been wonderful, and I trust them completely. And so even though I felt really anxious about the procedure, I felt like I was in the best hands. And so that made me relax into it. The reasons why I was anxious were because I didn't know what it felt like to go through the experience. The fear of the unknown.
Right.
I'm not a needle person. Anytime I get blood drawn, I'm like, okay, honey, I'm not going to look. That kind of stuff.
Because you're normal.
Yeah, totally.
It's very, it's interesting what you say. That is the main thing. People are scared because I tell them, I'm like, it's really easy. I promise. But what's easy for me is not necessarily easy for you. And the things that I can deal with and the fears that I have are different. We had a woman here recently. She was so scared that she wanted to be put to sleep. And I kept telling her, it's really not that big of a deal. And it really isn't, right?
No, I mean, honestly, once you have the system hooked up, it's okay. You just kind of have to breathe through it. It's like if you were to get an MRI, if you're like kind of claustrophobic, you just have to realize I am
all
safe.
about that.
Yeah. And it's just kind of separating yourself from the fear a little bit and realizing, okay, this is a treatment that is really going to help me. What is the worst that could happen? I'm in good hands. Nothing is going to happen. So I asked a million questions, and everyone was so willing to answer and didn't treat me like I was, freaking out too much or anything. But once you're hooked up, the machine starts going and you just hang out. I watched Meet the Parents.
Amazing.
Love
Amazing.
I had a nice little salad. It was great. I was still asking questions throughout the whole time because I tend to get anxious just as a person, but it wasn't anything specific about the treatment that was wrong or bad. I truly feel like it was a great, easy process.
All right. So after the procedure, do you think you were going to walk out feeling a certain way? I mean, it's interesting because I always ask the question, how did you feel for that night? How did you feel for the next couple of days? How did you feel for the first few weeks? And there are some things that people say that all seem to be the same, but there are others that are completely different. Some people, they're more, dreams are vivid, mental clarity is improved, people sleep well. What did you experience?
So I didn't know what to expect. I figured if there was going to be major changes in how my body performed, it would take a minute. But that night I was exhausted. I was so tired, and I wasn't sure if it was because I was nervous throughout the day or if it's because of the procedure. I'm not sure why my nervous system felt that way.
Probably combo.
Yeah. But I was so tired. By 8 p.m. I couldn't keep my eyes open, so I just went to bed. Had the best night's sleep I have had, honestly, in years.
I know. It's just
it was
phenomenal.
Magic.
I remember doing it for the first time, and I think that lasted for about 2 weeks where it was just glorious sleep. Pay and I talk about it all the time because neither of us can sleep. And so it was phenomenal.
Yeah. So I felt really great the next morning. and I felt way more energy, and I do feel like I had less brain fog. So certainly a great night's sleep will do that, but I do feel like it made a difference because of the procedure.
Right. And would you have any hesitation doing it again?
No, I wouldn't. And honestly, I would go in feeling so much better because I know what to expect. And that's just how so many things are in life. I would walk in here, pick another 2000s throwback movie, and have a great day.
I love that you chose an older movie. That's truly phenomenal. You're like, you know what? I'm going to head back a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, it is amazing. Especially with autoimmune diseases, the true benefits of plasma exchange. And now we even offer, there's some new things. Science changes so fast that on top of therapeutic plasma exchange, you have the ability to give what's called IVIG. So it's essentially a little immune boost. There's new things coming out along the pipeline, which is umbilical cord albumin, which is, it's just amazing what is coming down, is right around the next corner.
Wow. And is the albumin, is that what was replaced?
Exactly.
Very
So
cool.
as your plasma was stripped out, so imagine 55% of your entire blood volume was in that bag. And obviously you wouldn't do well without it. So we replaced 1-for-1 with liquid albumin. It's a protein that's essentially we've used in trauma for decades, for blood loss and things to that effect, because otherwise the body goes through major fluid shifts. But just by giving that to you, it equalizes pressure both in and outside of blood vessels. So it can be pretty phenomenal. When we talk about any other things in longevity, is there anything that you consider doing or you're eyeing or, again, because to me, the journey is not a one stop and you're done, right? It's a true journey. You are looking ahead, looking at what else can be done. Some people, they come in and they say, look, I noticed that this lab value keeps rising and rising and rising, and it's easy due to traditional medicine to focus on that one thing. Is there anything that is bothering you or you've done in your evaluation or diagnosis that you say, all right, here's my 10-year plan?
I think I need to establish my 10-year plan, and this is probably an ongoing conversation that we can have because there are so many things like we discussed. There's sauna, cold plunge, like all of these different things. And I want to do things that really move the needle. I don't want to feel like I have a laundry list of things that I need to do to proactively, make my life better. If it's making a difference and if it moves the needle, 10 out of 10, I will do it. But I also don't want my entire life to revolve around trying not to die.
Yes.
I want to actually
The Brian
live.
Johnson of
and it's
of
like I
longevity.
respect people's
Right.
choice to do whatever they want, but that type of lifestyle is not what I seek. I want to be out, like I just was in Vegas and met the whole team there and be able to enjoy my life. So I want to be as healthy as I possibly can while I still am living.
Right. And still enjoy it.
Yeah.
Again, I look at all things. And I will say Brian Johnson it's amazing from the standpoint that it helps provide awareness with some of the new therapies and things to that effect. But, I don't know that it's something that I would emulate as well because, you want to live life and enjoy yourself, obviously all within moderation. And these are things that can help. I think the key point to make in this discussion is that the basics need to be met first. There's no true biohack.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we can do things that will assist us, but this is after we've already done the basics.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then there's only so many blueberries you can eat. And, at that point, that's when you start adding some of the things, right? What would a typical day look like for you start to finish? Are you one of those that wakes up at 4 a.m. and you're at the gym, or do you like to sleep and get your 8 or 9 hours in? What would a typical day look like?
Well, I wake up early because sometimes I have early clients. I'm a trainer, but sometimes my body just wakes up between 5 and 6. I wish I could sleep in later, but for whatever reason, the sun's awake, I'm awake. So usually I do that. I have coffee and a little bit of a breakfast. I used to fast for a really long time, but it wasn't serving me well anymore. And so I eat with my coffee to make sure I have something in my stomach with caffeine. And that just, my body feels better. My hormones based on my blood work have been better. So that's what I do.
Love it.
And then I work out best mid-morning. I just feel like I have the most energy. I've had that full breakfast and I just feel like that's my prime time. So it'll be clients and then that and then computer work or filming or podcasting or whatever it is in the afternoon. Sometimes I have evening clients and then wrap up my day. Go to a movie,
I love
like
this.
that, yeah.
And are you a person that when you go to bed, first of all, you're to bed early, I'm imagining, just because you get up so early?
Yes, usually by 10.
Yeah, I'm very similar. But are you one that tries to avoid screens at night and things like that?
I do. Most of the time I do. I will have my Kindle periodically just because it's easier to hold. I like a paper book, but sometimes you just need to have that. But I try to avoid TV and stuff before bed. Every now and then I'm like, I need to watch one episode of The Office just to wind down.
Love it.
You
I
know?
love that you're choosing these particular series and movies. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, so
these are some classics here.
Of course.
Yeah, I think if you had to, from a health and wellness perspective, if you had to give, I don't know, 3 tips to someone that's starting in this space, not necessarily longevity, but just health and wellness, what would you tell them?
I would say always be learning, like always continue to learn. Find some mentors who you really respect and know that they know their stuff. I found a few mentors who have been pivotal in my experience as far as knowledge of strength training and health and fitness, but also just how to coach people better. How do you meet people where they're at to be able to be the best coach that you can be? And then as far as kind of the online personality, I've had a lot of mentorship for coaching to camera, and I'm a very calm, chill person. But when you're on camera coaching workouts, you have to dial up the volume
Right.
quite a bit. And so having a lot of mentorship in that area is really important. So I think first and foremost, never feel like you have to know everything from the get-go. Seek as much knowledge as you possibly can, and then coach people. I think that is so important to get real world experience, because if you're just learning from textbooks and then trying to regurgitate on the internet, certainly people could learn things from you, but you won't understand the nuance when Sally is telling you, I have 3 kids and I have to do all these things. I can't go to the gym for an hour and a half a day.
Right.
We have to understand that human beings are human beings. And so that is a huge piece of coaching too.
Yeah, listen, I think they're amazing points. You know, that common phrase, you never want to be the smartest person in the room. I mean, that's really what you're saying. You're like, look, there's so much to learn, so much, that you can absorb just by being in the same room as those people. So I agree with you 100%. And from an exercise standpoint, let's say we'll take a flip. So we'll say from a diet and exercise standpoint, are there any I would say any points or pointers that you would give to the average person in middle Wisconsin? I'm from there, but
I'm from Minnesota.
I knew it.
Midwest.
That you would say, all right, for those of you people who are just starting, for any of the viewers and listeners especially, what do you think is the most important thing when you start, or any other point that you think may be helpful?
It's better to do it consistently than perfectly. So many people get so caught up in, I need to do this workout plan perfectly 6 to 7 days a week, even 5 days a week. And if I miss a day, it's all over. I have to execute this meal plan perfectly. If I have one bite more or less, I'm not going to hit my calories, my macros, all the things, and then it's all over. I think if we become too hyper-focused on being perfect, none of it's going to work. We're setting ourselves up for failure. So for me, if I'm telling someone, okay, we're going to get into habits, we're going to set a range. We're going to work out 3 to 4 days a week. And then that way, if their kid has an emergency and they miss that workout, it's okay. But if we are at 2 workouts and it's the end of the week, all right, we got to get in that 3rd workout and have some accountability there. Same thing with nutrition. We need to focus on the majority of our meals being nutritious, but building in some flexibility is really, really, really important.
Yeah, I love that because, again, to be healthy doesn't mean that you can no longer have fun.
Right.
And I think a lot of people forget that. I love watching The Rock because he'll have his cheat Sundays and you'll see all the garbage that he eats. And it's like, it lets you know that even he's human as well. But I think you're right where you say, look, Friday nights I have pizza. But it's the consistency over the course of a week where you say, all right, this is going to be my general caloric intake. This is kind of what I'm going to eat. And then, God forbid, you had to meet a friend out for lunch or do something different. You're not going to stiffen up. You're going to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I think if you zoom out and you look at things week over week, it becomes so much easier to stay consistent rather than just meal by meal or day by day, because it's really easy for things to pop up. Life happens that we can't control.
Especially with kids and things to that effect. So if any of our viewers or listeners wanted to find out more about you, where would they go?
Yeah, so my Instagram is The Daily Kelsey, just at The Daily Kelsey. I have a podcast called Always Growing with Kelsey Heenan. And so we have fun, encouraging conversations like this about growth and about always learning.
Awesome.
And just real stories that help people realize, okay, even the people who are at the top of their game still have things to work on. They've been through things. And I just want it to be very encouraging for people. So Always Growing, you can find that anywhere you listen to podcasts, on YouTube, all that kind of stuff.
Awesome. And if someone wanted to train with you, is that the same? How would they?
So our app you can download from the App Store for free. It's called Workout Buddies. We have hundreds of free workouts available. Very soon you're going to be able to get my personal workouts. We have a daily workout that drops. Lots of different options in there, as well as premium programs. If you have a specific goal, we have progressive programs. So if you want to learn how to do pull-ups or you want to just build more muscle, we have lots of different options in there. And then I do some private training in Los Angeles, and you can just DM me on Instagram if you're interested in that.
Yeah, I think, look, all of the points that you made are so fantastic. I mean, I know that I've learned a lot, and I hope the viewers and listeners have as well. I mean, the phrase that you said where, again, where you're really alluding to the fact that you want to be consistent, not perfect, is so true, because you just need to stick to something. And that goes in health, nutrition, exercise, and it also goes into longevity as well. And once you come up with a plan, and we'll talk about it, because I think it's such a great start to see what's out there. There's so much more, and you really want to find a plan with data points along the way that show that you're actually doing what you're setting out to do. You want to reverse biological age. That's exactly it. You look phenomenal. You want the inside to match as well, and the trajectory of your aging. Obviously, we want that to alter, for the better. So, I know I'm so thankful that you came out here today to let us, throw the barrage of questions at you, and man, so fascinating. So thank you so much.
Honestly, thank you so much for having me. And anyone who is listening, this team truly is the best of the best. I have had the most amazing experience, and you are in the best hands. So come do Therapeutic Plasma Exchange. Like, literally everything they do is life-changing.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Listen, I learned so much. I hope for the viewers and listeners that you did as well. Obviously, if you have any questions, use the information, and we'll put that, on our podcast and YouTube, so you can reach out to Kelsey. But truly phenomenal. Thank you so much. For all the viewers and listeners who are sending in questions, or you have more, please send those emails in. This is how we come up with these topics, and we get the people who can answer them. Once again, this is Forever Young. I'm Dr. John Layke. And I also wanted to say, for those of you, don't forget to subscribe to this particular podcast. And if you have further questions, please let us know. Otherwise, you'll listen to your podcast wherever you listen to them, and check out your socials on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And as Dr. Danielpour would say, peace.